All right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Talking Auburn football, man. It's another car cast, man. I do these ever so often. And, when I think about the car cast, I think about one of the reasons why I made this channel in the first place is because, I lived in Alabama for a great portion of my life. And then I moved to Georgia. And it seems like in the workplace, almost every day when I was back in Alabama, that's all I talked about was Auburn football. This, Auburn football, that, Auburn football. That was during the Tommy Tuberville era and the early portions of the short-lived Gene Chizik era, but mostly the Tommy Tuberville era. And I moved to Georgia, and it's like I ain't got nobody to talk Auburn football with. Now, here's the good thing. With being in the Deep South, every now and then some Auburn people would come into, come on the scene or whatever. As a matter of fact, the tickets that I got for the Auburn versus Arkansas game in 2010 were actually from some customers when I was working at Enterprise. I don't even remember whether they sold the ticket to me or not. Great seats in the end zone, man. That was actually the last game that I physically went to with Auburn, and I was so exhausted after that game. It's like I felt like I had played in the damn game. I mean, the back and forth, the crowd noise, and I hadn't been in the game in so long. And it's like I'm like, man, going to these games is exhausting. So I will be transparent with the Auburn fan base. By the way, go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Now, I'll be transparent with the fan base. I don't like going to Auburn games. I really don't. It's too loud, man. I don't know whether I've just gotten old or I went to so many of them when I was in college, but my ears ringing when I leave and all that other stuff. I hate it, but I'm going to tell you what I do like. And don't get me wrong, I'll go to an Auburn game, but I prefer, now many of you have probably done this, by show of hands, once I say this particular experience, I want you to leave like a thumbs up in the comment section. Now, what I've actually come to like is going to an Auburn game, which, I mean, this sounds backwards as hell, right? Is going to an Auburn game and actually watching the game while tailgating outside of Jordan-Hare Stadium. Now, that is the most ass-backward stuff you could imagine. Now, the only thing that I don't like about that is that there's an obvious delay in the crowd. I can think back to when Auburn took on Kansas State at home, I want to say in 2006, and all the excitement going on. I'm watching the game on flat screen TV at one of my frat brothers' tailgates, and it's like the crowd noise and the game didn't, man. I'm like, oh man, they spoiled it. That's when all that exciting stuff started to happen to where Auburn wound up winning the game. So my preference, though, to be fair, I love Jordan-Hare Stadium. I went to a lot of games. I went to a couple of Alabama Auburn games, went to a couple of Georgia games, went to a couple of LSU games. I just like watching the game in the comfort of my own home. I really do. To where I can go to the refrigerator and grab me a beer real quick. I ain't got to stand in line if I have to use the bathroom. Nothing against people that actually go to the game because, I mean, you go to the game, that does support the university. But I just prefer, because if you know me and you know my personality, you will know that I just don't like crowds like that. I don't like noise like that. And my ears ringing after the game, that's just, somewhat of a problem for me. All right, so let's get into the meat of the video, though. Now, from what I can see, from the outside or the inside looking in, is the landscape of college football is trying not to allow Auburn to enjoy the victory over Akron. Right? Alabama can play Akron and beat them 70-0, and they're talking about how Alabama is poised for a national championship. And I ain't saying that I'm just saying that because that's the reality of it. Auburn fans cannot enjoy a victory. It's always got to be. It's like when Auburn wins, it's like the landscape of college football gives a backhanded compliment. Now, when we talk about the whole meat of this video, talking about the offensive line, mind you, Akron was not at all a good football team, period, by any stretch of the imagination. They recruit about as bad as they probably wouldn't win a lot of games in Division I AA against some of the higher tier teams in 1AA. And that's fair. That is what it is. However, I don't dislike the previous coaching staff. I want to put that out there right now. I actually like Gus Malzahn. You know, adamantly defended him while he was the coach here at Auburn. But one thing that I became annoyed with at times was Auburn's inability to put teams away like this the way Brian Harsin did. You had 23 games that Auburn participated in under the former regime. One was a loss. We're talking about games against non-Power 5 football teams. I'll give them this. They only lost one, and that was to UCF in the Peach Bowl in 2017. I'd argue that from a talent standpoint and with the way the trajectory of that game went, I don't think they should have lost that one. But that was more of a perceptual loss. UCF was trying to kind of push the envelope for their stock in being a national championship football team, which no, they weren't. They were good, though. I will give them that. They were good. Auburn lost that game 34-27. The only loss for Gus Malzahn against a non-Power 5 team. All the other ones, they pretty much, if you look at it on average, the 23 games they played, they beat them by double digits. But here's where, just in case you want to know, here's why Auburn fans were excited about this game against Akron. There was never a point of this game where Auburn fans were irritated, or where Auburn fans could look at something and say, you know what? What they just did is not going to work against another team. See, that's why Auburn fans are so happy. And I want to put this out there to the mass media. Auburn fans in their heart of hearts, I'm telling you, they're not talking about, okay, we're about to win a national championship because we beat Akron. We're not the best team in the SEC because we beat Akron. We're just relieved that we beat a team that we were supposed to beat the way we were supposed to beat them. And that's the bottom line. And I don't want you guys to misinterpret that in Auburn sunshine pumping, or all of a sudden thinking that they're the new, poster children, or, headed to the SEC championship game. Auburn fans are relieved that they could finally watch a game against a team that they're supposed to annihilate and actually see the annihilation. Many of these Auburn fans They had to suffer through 2015 against Jacksonville State when Auburn was really close to suffering one of the most embarrassing, most humiliating losses in Auburn history to an in-state FCS school, Jacksonville State. A game that had to be pushed into overtime, right? And that was a team, excuse me, that was actually classified below Akron. So that's where a lot of this excitement is coming from. Auburn could actually compete against a team and actually cover the damn spread. I actually picked Auburn to beat Akron 49-0. And from a point differential, I was almost right. Auburn beat Akron 60-10. That's a 50-point loss where I predicted a 49-point loss. Auburn gave up 10 points. I expected goose eggs. And it probably could have been goose eggs. But at the same time, I mean, there's no need to cut your nose off to spite your face just to get a shutout because you got other games ahead, right? But that's why Auburn fans are so excited. Because they feel something different. They feel a different vibe with this coaching staff. They feel a different vibe with the focus of this particular football team. They're just so happy that they don't have to deal with the embarrassment of having to kind of sort of pull away from Akron. You know what I'm talking about. When beating Akron 36-34, 36-24, or kind of like in, I want to say, I think for sure this was 2015, defeating Idaho 56-34. They didn't want to see nothing like that. They wanted to see complete domination, and that's what they got. I want you guys to flood the comment section. Tell me okay, this is what I want you to do. One, if you want to donate to the channel, I want you to go to $KENNARD STEWART and leave a Cash App. I really appreciate all the Cash Apps that have been coming in to donate to the channel. However, more importantly than that, because it's not about the money. I like the money, but tonight it ain't even about the money. I want you to leave in the comment section, what was your most irritating game that you witnessed Auburn play against a team that they should have annihilated, but they absolutely struggled against? I'm gonna tell you my two. My most irritating game was Southern Miss in 2017, Mercer in 2017. I'm gonna give you three. Jacksonville State in 2015. That was irritating to watch. So I want you to give me yours though. This is the Nightcap, Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Like the video, comment, and subscribe. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.